All right, welcome to the November 2020 Disability Ministry Video Roundtable. Our topic today is about how in the world to do a hybrid ministry. So some of our churches have started to reopen, but I'm pretty sure that even if we're partly reopened, there's a pretty good chance that a bunch of our people aren't back yet. And so what we're finding is we are trying to do ministry in a hybrid type environment where some of our folks are in person and some are participating online from home. And how in the world do we make that happen? So what are the best practices? We have some folks with us today who, thank goodness, have gone before us and have figured out how to do this. And so we want to hear from them. We want to hear from you. What are your questions? And let's just help each other figure out how in the world to make our ministries happen when our folks are both in person and online. So Meekins, can I call on you first just to talk a little bit about, because I know that you've kind of figured this out. So to talk a little bit about what your ministry is looking like these days and some of the best practices that you have discovered to do a hybrid ministry. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Can I just say one more thing? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My name's Beth Golick, and I'm from Key Ministry, sorry. And Catherine Boyle, so red background, and for those of you who can see the screen, Catherine is our mental health ministry director. Thanks for the applause, Trace. So anyway, we're here from Key Ministry, and we're glad that you're all here today. All right, Julie and Tom, what do you have for us?
Well, yeah, we're here to learn just as much as everyone else, I hope, can learn too. We have been figuring it out as we go. We have a life group that's been going for about 12 weeks now, and it started with some people online on Zoom and some people in the class. And sometimes we have just as many or more online than compared to those that are in the class. And we record it and we send it out to the people that haven't made it. And then we've had those that show up during the class physically and then not feeling well the next week, so they're able to attend on Zoom the next week. So that's very convenient. One of the challenges we had the first couple of weeks is, where do we put the computer? Where, because you have a classroom, and then you have people like I'm looking at right now in front of us. I'm used to a Zoom meeting where everyone's looking at each other and we're able to participate. But in the classroom, you've got the teacher, and the classes, we're going through Mark. I'm teaching Mark, and so we're looking both at the class online and the class physically. And so how to position the cameras and the microphones, that's a lot of that is trial and error. But the underlying principle, the most important thing is that the people online aren't spectators. They're just as important as the people that are attending in person. And so we've got to keep that in mind. And with that, sometimes we have discovered in a few weeks that it's good to have another computer in the classroom where one of the people in the classroom is also a Zoom attender. And so they're attending physically and they're attending on Zoom, so they can keep track of facial expressions, raised hands. Beth, you're really good at that. I don't know how you look at everything and keep everybody in line and active, but it's extremely important that those that are online feel just as important as the ones that are in person. So, with that, I don't know if anybody else is doing the same thing.
He's got a whole page of notes here. So we don't know how long you want him to talk. So we just thought that we would kind of introduce it and then, let you guys have a discussion, unless you want him to keep going. You decide, Beth.
Well, let's do this.
I'd like to hear what others are doing or what you're planning and
Oops, okay.
I have a corporate government environment where everyone's sitting around a rectangular table. There's this huge screen up in the front and this pod that's in the middle of the table so everybody can talk and you can see people around the world and all that. But we don't have that kind of a budget at churches. And so we're doing it as simply as possible. And it's working really well. I'm excited that there's someone from Washington State. We're in Virginia. There's someone in Washington State that's attending. We've had someone an hour away in Southwest Virginia. Someone from Maryland that's attended. And so the possibilities are endless where we can invite a lot of people that are part of our ministry even. To the Sunday morning class, because a lot of churches, what I'm hearing now is if you're having church now, there's a good possibility that they're going to start tightening up. And I'm just hearing even this week, there's states that are tightening up with attendance. And then there's the fear. People haven't started back in the churches physically. And so this provides an opportunity to continue to fellowship and meet with each other when you're not there in person.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've named a pandemic blessing right there, and that is that our reach is now more than just our little neighborhood or our little community. So all right, we'll give that one a thumbs up, even though pretty much everything else having to do with COVID, I'm going to give a thumbs down. But let's open it up. I do want to hear every single note that is on your notepad, Tom, but let's open it up and see what questions people have, and then we'll kind of attack it that way. But I want to hear everything because, believe me, I'm on here to learn as well. So would anybody like to share either a question or maybe a comment on what your ministry looks like, or how you're doing with this? Looking around.
Hi, this is Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hello, this is Bob Furtado. Hello, this is Bob Furtado from Michigan. A couple of things that I've been doing these for a while that does seem to help is that you have one person as the teacher facilitator, and then another person who is in fact looking at the computer and keeping track of the chat questions and comments, and then relaying that to the person who is teaching. That seems to be a great help. The other thing is that when you're using Zoom, and we are looking at people with disabilities to fully facilitate this by certainly using the closed captioning features on Zoom. And the other thing that seems to be necessary is to constantly throughout the meeting remind people of the hotkeys that can be used with Zoom. For example, hitting the Alt-Y key to raise their hand, and then have that person who is checking the participants just to find out who is in fact has their raised hand, so they don't feel left out.
Yeah.
And you acknowledge them right away. Thank you.
Oh, that's really good. You know what? I've printed out a list of the hotkeys before, and then I forget that I have the list, and so I'm not really good at the hotkeys. But that's good to know, and that's a really, really great tip. Thank you, Bob. Let's see. Trace mentioned, I don't know if this is about what Bob said or about what the Meekin said, but that's a great idea to have someone in the classroom monitoring the Zoom call in that way. I think you guys both touched on that. So yeah, I like that tip a lot, Bob. Thank you. Anybody else have a question, a situation, or are we ready to hear more from Tom's list? Yes, Ingrid.
Hi, Ingrid here in New Jersey, and we have not yet joined together with our groups in person, doing a lot via Zoom. And so I'm seeing that one community that we're reaching wonderfully now on Zoom is not necessarily the same participants who came when we were in person. So we definitely want to come back hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
What's been recommended to me that I guess, this is not necessarily my expertise at all, but thinking about the tech aspect, people have suggested to us to have a computer that's connected to monitor or a screen on the wall so that we can all see the faces of those who are participating at home. And I'd very much like to do that because, as someone mentioned, that interactive aspect is so great. We want to be able to see who's at home. We want them to be able to see us. And then also it was recommended to look at purchasing one of those conference style cameras.
Mhm.
Yes, that's a budget consideration. So my responsibility and question now is, what's important? What isn't important? Where do you spend your funds? And is anybody doing anything like that with a screen of faces on the wall?
Okay, so thank you, Ingrid. So let me ask a couple questions. First of all, show of hands. Does anybody have one of those? I think they're called like an owl, like the thing that sits in the middle. That's a camera that spins around. Anybody have one of those? So our church actually owns. We bought one. Like once the pandemic hit and we realized nobody was going to be. They couldn't gather big groups in the conference room. I've never used it. It's not. It's not in my side of the building. It's over in the more administrative side, but so that is an option, but I believe it is quite pricey. But how many of you are using, show of hands, how many of you are using a video screen with the Zoom participants? Oh, good. Ellen uses a Zoom room. Cool. We're going to hear from you then. How many of you use a screen with the Zoom participants projected on it or, through it? Okay, I see a couple hands there. Okay. So are any of you in your other life, are any of you teachers, like school teachers or married to a school teacher? Okay, I see a couple hands. Or you have school age kids who are attending in some type of either virtual or hybrid environment. Okay, so a couple hands, but and a couple thumbs up. So our teachers have really figured this out, haven't they? Or some have, some school districts, they've really figured this out. I know I have I still have one kid at home, a high schooler, and he is doing, it's a hybrid type of program. So.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm gonna mute that person. Okay. So anyway, we could get some tips from teachers for sure. So Ellen at the Tim Tebow Foundation uses a Zoom room, and she put it's zoom.us/Zoom room. So if you want to research a little bit more about that. And Darla says that Stonebriar uses screen projecting students. Okay, so, and they're also using a Mevo camera. I don't know what that is. Deanna or Darla, do you want to share with us, or are you trying to see where you are on my thing here?
Hello.
Hello, there you are. Okay,
Yeah.
right in front of my face. Okay, hello, Darla.
Hello.
Can you tell us more about what you're doing?
So yes, our John 9-3 students met in the summer on Zoom, which that's our adult class for special needs. And we did start back with a hybrid class in September, and it's been very successful. We do have the screens on the room with the Zoom participants showing so that everybody in class can see them. We also put up this is a cheap way to do it. I just took my old iPhone and I use that as a camera in the corner on a tripod that takes a picture of the class. And you just sign in as a participant. So you're only this big, right, but it still makes that connection between the students in the class and the students online. And then sometimes we will have a person walking around with that camera to show them when they have questions or they're answering questions. And we do also, we do a lot of incorporating in the class. So we always pick someone from the screen and then someone from the in-class to share a praise or a prayer request. We always alternate. And then one thing that I really like too is that we have alternating teachers. So 1 week a teacher will teach in class and 1 week a teacher will teach online, which I think is what the Meekin said. You have to make your online class as important as your on-campus class.
I love that. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Yeah.
Sure.
And I'm just laughing because a year ago, who would have thought that this group would be sitting around, like techies talking about all these like innovative ideas that we've discovered. So
We've all got our degree in audio visual in the
that's
last
right,
20 years.
right. Who would have thought? That's awesome. Thank you. I love it.
I'm going to go off because my reception's really bad right now. So,
Right. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
Meekins, can you talk a little bit more about, I love the idea of how, and what Darla said and what you mentioned earlier of how you're involving both your Zoom, we'll just say Zoom, whatever it is, Zoom participants and your in-person. Can you give us a few more pointers along those lines?
Right. We one thing that we do have is a wide angle external camera. And they start at $20 on Amazon. We got, I think, a $50 one. It also has a microphone as part of the camera. And so you can place that anywhere in the room. And being wide angle, it can catch everybody in the class. We're under restrictions where we can't move the desks around. So if we could do that, it would be probably a little easier to catch everybody. But the wide angle camera is a good way to go. And I just can't stress the importance of making everyone part of the class. And I appreciated that sharing just a few minutes ago, where each person is, and I hadn't even thought about walking around the class with the camera. That's a good idea. And so let's see, what's the $20 camera, that's not too bad.
You had a specific question that you asked. Yeah. That. What was that? Because we heard part of it because our internet was unstable for a second there, but I think it had to do with making sure that I think the question had to do with the people that were online as well as the people in the classroom and how to make that connection.
How you're engaging both while you're teaching or whatever it is that you're doing.
Right. And what's happening is that the people that are online, they seem to feel very part of the class, and it's working. And there are limitations to both. I like the idea of everyone appearing on the screen in front of the class, but we don't have that capability. I wish we did. So the faces are appearing on a small computer screen. That's less than ideal. I've even thought of bringing in one of our monitor, our TV set, plugging it in. Maybe week 20 that'll happen, but you learn as you go, and there's lots of good ideas that are being tossed around here too.
One of the things I wanted to say was that we do a lot of follow-up as well. So as soon as the class is over, in the next day or two, we send out the prayer request. And we also send the video, we recorded and we send the video to anybody who wasn't able to attend. So that is including the people who are in person and the people who are the Zoomers. So that has been helpful because then they get the prayer request for everybody for the week. And then we send an email out every Saturday with the link, just like you guys do with Key Ministry and Doc does with his talk with docs, to remind them what the link is, because no matter how many times, even if you have the same link forever, they're going to lose it. So we need to make sure that they get that link every single week. So we do that. And then we do encourage them to get in touch with us during the week in case they have any other things that they need to discuss. And I'm feeling like at week 13 coming up, we're feeling that they are actually becoming a class of people that are relating to each other, whether they're on Zoom or whether they're in person, because we've had so much Zoom lately, so many online things lately. People are more comfortable with it now. And it has been a huge blessing to watch that, because that was my goal from the beginning, to make sure that, that the people on Zoom didn't feel like they were just Zoom people and that the people in the class were just in-class people. And sometimes you have to remind the in-person people that there are Zoomers. And, you have, as the facilitators, you really have that responsibility to make sure that you keep bringing them in. And as time has gone on, we've noticed that the in-person people are now getting that. And they're starting to realize that even if they've gotten eye contact with us, we still have to consult with the people that, or make sure that the people that are on Zoom also get a chance to talk. So, and we get a lot of good talkers, which helps. It's quite an orchestra kind of thing to do, but if we feel like the maestro, trying to figure out, and I know, Beth, you know what we're talking about, and Catherine, you know what we're talking about. So, but it's a good experience, and it's a wonderful thing to do, because then you can, like you said, the outreach is marvelous.
Right. So I tagged the person that has their separate computer in front of them as the online greeter. And so they're greeting the people as they come online, and then making the whole class aware of those that are here online. And so that works out really well. The Zoom wave, that's popular. So yeah, it's working, and my internet is unstable. I hope we're coming through okay. So it's working, and I'm enjoying it. Now I want to go out and invite the whole country to come to our class.
Right.
So if any of you are not part of a life group, and
These are the busy people.
because your church is not meeting, or if you know of anybody, you can send them our way.
We'd love to have you.
We're studying Mark.
Right.
It's excellent.
That's a good plug. Good job. Good job. Darla seconds what you said about having an online greeter, that's really helpful. And I love that idea too. That's great. How many participants do you have each time?
Yeah, you have that.
There's about 5
Does the attendance.
regulars online, and then there's anywhere from the in-person is up and down. And so we have anywhere between 5 and 7 probably. So, but and we also have a group, because we use Planning Center for our church. And so we have a group email list, and there are 20 people on that list. So they come in and out.
They come in and out, right?
Yeah.
Right. But about 10 regulars.
Okay. Lynn says, y'all are, she must be, she's from Texas. Y'all are so inclusive. Thank you for the invitation to join your Zoom class. Love it. Yes, I second that. All right, so we have more than 25 people on the Zoom. So now we're on 2 screens, at least on my screen. So I'm just looking to see if anybody has their hand raised, or, yes, Trace.
So I have a question. What about, so a good percentage of our adult participants live in group home situations where they don't have the technology or the at-home support to connect into. So what are you guys doing in regards to that? I don't feel like we can send, tablets home with people, because then that changes the environment of the whole group home, right? And we don't have the right to do that. But how do you make sure that those people get included?
I can jump in on there. We've had a couple group homes that we've worked with in that. One, we were able to, a lot of people have upgraded tablets. And so we've asked if anyone would be willing to donate iPads or something like that. And then we've given that iPad to the group home. And so then they're able to sit there and do that. There's another group home where our group, we actually go there during the week and just do a special class just for them during the week to help minister to them because they don't have that capability and they can't come and do anything, but they still want the in-person. So worked it out where, Thursday afternoon is their adult Sunday school class time now, and it's just in person in their group home. So, and the group home has welcomed us in and able to do that and able to do it in a safe, environment where they can still have the spacing and everything. But you'd be amazed how many people, when you share that the need for needing tablets or iPads or something like that, how many people have extra ones or old ones just laying around that aren't really being used, and they'd love to donate it, especially for something like that. or they may just flat out go and purchase a brand new one for you for that group home with it. Because you're right, most group homes don't have computers, they don't have iPads or anything with that to use, but if you're able to get that for them, they're ecstatic to be able to share that with you.
So along those lines, and Ellen, feel free to jump in here because probably know what I'm going to say. But so this year, with so many things being virtual, there's a lot of potential this year for reaching group homes in a whole new way. And this is something at my church that we're really looking to do this year. But Night to Shine is going to be virtual this year. And so that really gives you an opportunity to work with a complete group home, because there's not going to be any space restrictions on your event. And so maybe combining, outreach for inviting an entire group home to your virtual Night to Shine event, and then maybe that's your inroad to inviting participants on Sunday morning. I don't know, I'm throwing that out there. If anybody else wants to jump on that one.
I think the biggest challenge is that, we have a Night to Shine meeting tonight, and one of our biggest challenges is going to be ensuring that people have access to Wi-Fi. That's one of the things in our manual, that for that night, February 12th, they need technology and a connection. And so how do we convince a group home to just do this in their social room, or whatever that is, rather than depending on people having individual devices?
Right.
And so actually having a liaison to each group home to try and make that happen. I'm a little overwhelmed by that because I've never been in a group home environment.
Yeah, and
so
I think this.
Who do you talk to? How does that look?
We're going to be doing, I'm sorry, Ellen.
No, you go ahead.
Maryland, First Baptist Church of Glen Arden. We are going to be doing Night to Shine, and that was my thought too, was inviting several group homes. And we already partner with the ARC that supports group homes. And then we had a presentation from our library that will donate hotspots.
Oh.
So we're going to try to partner with the library to see if they can get hotspots to some of the group homes so that they can have those available for that particular night. And of course, we're working on different activities and things that we can do so that families can feel more engaged, and it's not just us dropping off a gift to their house, but helping them decorate their house or whatever it is that we can do to, we are in 100% lockdown. We are back to phase 1. We had actually 2,000 new COVID test positive people just yesterday. So we
Where are you located?
Excuse me?
Where are you located?
In Maryland, Prince George's County.
Okay.
So, using the church is out of the question, but we're just trying to be creative because we want to support. We've actually increased because we had to send in our projected numbers of people like yesterday. So we projected a almost 25% increase in the numbers of people because we do want to tap into the group homes.
That's great. Thank you. Ellen, Ellen's from the Tim Tebow Foundation. Can you tell us a little bit more maybe about what folks are doing this year?
Sure. And Sylvia, you covered a lot of what I was going to share about the free hotspots and things. It's not something that people were really excited about at first, that Night to Shine was going virtual, but it's really the safest and the best decision for us. But I don't know, many of you don't know that my son does live in a group home. And so we are getting way ahead of things, and we're going to be decorating and rolling out the red carpet and making a big deal. A team of us will go in when they're not there and decorate. The group homes are very restricted at times, though. We were unable to see our son for a little while, and then he was only able to come to our house, and we weren't able to go inside of the home at all. So we'll really have to keep an eye on that. But small group gatherings are fine at somebody's home if it's under 10 people. But, we obviously don't want any in person, and we'll just have to kind of see how things go from there. I'm happy to answer any specific questions, though. I'm more on the Shine On side, but I'm obviously involved with Night to Shine as well.
So Ellen, Heather's asking in the chat, is it too late to participate in Night to Shine this year?
Not at all.
You got a thumbs up on that one. So if they go to the Tim Tebow Foundation.org, there's a place to apply. Is that correct?
Yes, and I'm going to share my email as well. Just email me, and I'll help you out.
So
sure.
I'm actually thinking if we, and I'm just thinking out loud here, but in January for our Disability Ministry Video Roundtable topic, would that be too late for all of you, just to, if we talked about like Night to Shine and similar virtual events, like how can we maybe just talk about what everybody's doing? It's kind of late, like you'll have mostly planned everything, but I still think it would be fun to see what everybody else is doing. Is January a weird time for that?
I would say the only thing that would be beneficial for me, and I don't mean to say it would be beneficial for other people, but right now, we plan on having a shine through. We plan on having our drive-through, and then they go home to virtual. Well, what if our governor locks us down?
Right. I mean, there's so many unknowns right now.
Pivot, drop our shine through, and make this possible at each home. So we're sort of mulling through that. Okay, we're kind of planning both tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in January we'd hear something that we could implement, but at that point, what week of January? Because
so our Disability Ministry Video Roundtables are the third week of January, and we weren't going to do it in December because that puts us right up at Christmas.
Yeah. So I know for us, for another group in our area, their stuff's going to happen February 6th. Their live person stuff, the third week of January, we can't pivot that fast.
Mm-hmm.
But not to say that everybody can't benefit.
Right. Well, let's do this. Let's, Ellen, you and I are talking later anyway. Maybe we'll do a special discussion and just invite anybody that wants to talk about, how we're doing Night to Shine. I know I'm in Northeast Ohio, and the churches that are local to me that are doing Night to Shine, we've actually met to brainstorm how we can kind of collaborate this year so that we can make sure that every group home is covered by a single church. This is a really pandemic blessing. It's a really cool year that our churches can actually just fully collaborate. So we're doing the same thing across the board for all the, Northeast Ohio. So, all right. So we'll look for an email from us about, having a discussion, a roundtable on this sooner rather than later. Cause I think, we kind of need to start finalizing plans. I know I haven't turned my numbers in yet. I'm doing that. We're meeting tonight. Okay. What else? Back to our hybrid discussion. Looking around, any hands raised? Tom and Julie, you want to share something else from your list?
Okay. What I'm observing here is a wonderful thing is that all of our needs are different, and our classes are different, and we're reaching. Our main outreach is a class. It's a combination class. We have adult special needs attendees that will, he's brought his whole family, and they've also attended online, and then we have people who just love people. So
And parents of special needs.
Parents of special needs
Can't
kids
get
too.
out.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I'm seeing faces of two of those right now, and so the reach out or the outreach is amazing, where there's lots of flexibility, and I appreciate the information going into group homes. That's something that I made a note of. That's an excellent thing to think through. So, do you think of other things here?
No, I think that the key is, which we've talked about many times, is, that it's about the technology, but it's about the people. So, you really do have to know the technology in order to reach the people these days, or you're not going to get, the people in. But we don't want to lose sight of what our great purpose is, and that is love God, love people. So how are we going to do that and use the technology that God allows for us to use? And so I love this group because you guys are all about the people, and I appreciate that it's not just another program. It's not just, we can't do that, so let's do this. It's really about, okay, how are we going to love these people? My heart goes to Sylvia, locked down forever, she says, it's just, but yet she is resilient and she's always coming up with new ideas. And so are the rest of you, and I really appreciate this group because it's about, okay, we even if we get discouraged every now and then, and we do, because we're like, oh, this is too overwhelming. I can't imagine another way to do this. And then God gives us that idea. And it's either through one of you, or it's just, something that he puts in our minds. And this is such a good opportunity to be able to collaborate with each other and figure these things out, because there's a ripple effect here. Every one of you are reaching people, that the others aren't reaching. So I think, Beth, you called it a support group. It's a wonderful support group.
Right, and I just have to emphasize that our purpose is to point people to Jesus. And that's what we began our class last week. It says we're from Genesis to Revelation. We're to point people to Jesus. And just so happens we're studying Mark. I says, well, here he is right there. Every chapter, there he is. But that's our purpose. And so I appreciate you guys helping us focus on the gospel.
Well, thank you. And for those of you who don't know the mission of Key Ministry, it actually is, it's what we do, but then it's to make disciples for Jesus Christ. That's the bottom line of it. So, so thank you for being part of this group and part of that mission. Yes, Al.
I'm in New Jersey. My wife is a teacher's aide, so I actually left the meeting a little bit to hear what she's doing. She told me I didn't understand at first. I'm trying to understand, but in 5th grade in the morning, she's like the one that watches the screen, and sometimes she answers the questions herself. Sometimes she refers them to the teacher. Apparently her teacher is like a 30-year-old technical brilliant man. So they have like 4 iPads they use, and they can project on a screen the online people for the ones in class and vice versa. So probably any young school teacher knows how to do this stuff, and probably just check with them because they're probably doing it already. And it's different for every classroom, I realize, but the elementary school teachers, I think, probably know how to do it. And if you have contact with some of them, they probably can help you figure out in your context how to do it.
That's a really, really good point. And it reminds me of something that we've talked about in our idea shares this whole time. And that is, involving volunteers and maybe new roles for volunteers. And boy, that would be an awesome role for somebody who is not willing or able to come back in your building yet, but they can be kind of the Zoom monitor from home. They can be monitoring the chat and monitoring, for hands raised and facial expressions or whatever. So yeah, great point, Al. And yes, certainly our school teachers are probably the experts on this at this point.
And on Monday, she was doing it at school, and today Tuesday, she was doing it from home.
Okay.
The same thing. So like you've said, you know, if
Do it
everything
up
shuts
and-
down, there's still a way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Beth.
Yes.
So, I mean, this is one of the things that we talk about in mental health ministry all the time, too, is you've got a lot of resources within your own faith community, you know, people who have connections to local mental health resources or, you know, are already providing services in their day jobs that can be helpful for developing or supporting mental health ministry. So that's just an outstanding point that, you know, tap into the people who are already in your church for ideas. You know, you don't have to reinvent the wheel here. Like Al said, you know, somebody already knows how to do whatever the, you know, the issue is that you're having.
Right. Right. That's a good point. And these days it doesn't have to be like, you know, the AV tech person at your church. It could be your, yeah, the volunteer who happens to be a teacher and is now an expert on doing this thing. Yeah. Wow, look at the time already. That went fast. Any other questions, comments? Anybody have any aha moments? Yes, Christy.
I haven't been on for quite a while because I am a teacher. And you know, I've taught online for 6 years. And so the struggle still is with the nonverbal students, but I will say with the volunteers, I am not a special ed teacher, but I am the disabilities director. Anyway, and one volunteer did little pictures for Bible memorization, and just her preparing that was so invaluable for me. And it was like an aha moment, like I should have thought of this a long time ago, but it was really helpful. But because we're in California and we're on lockdown, I will also say that another connection is just going out with your parents or with the students and just taking a walk around the park. I emailed probably 5 parents, and I can't even tell you the responses that I got. I mean, we had a little bit of rain, but they still want to meet. They want to meet in person. You can be socially distant. And I just got those dollar light up little like Christmas lights, you know, that light up. They're a necklace. Do you know what I'm?
Yes.
Okay. So I just picked those up for everybody that I meet with, and I'm just going to hand those out. And it's like I gave them some phenomenal goodie bag, but I just had that. And it is helpful to have those volunteers for those little things that make your Sundays easier. Someone who's willing to, you know, have their guitar ready. And we're 100% online. I've tried to meet in person, but it's just not going to happen for quite a while.
Sorry, it's actually sunny here for once. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. And I think you raised a point that we actually talked about in our last idea share, which those happen the first Monday of each month. And that is like the little goodie bags, or just a little something. It's just that little contact. Let's see. Okay, it's that little contact, and it really just means a lot. And whether it's, I mean, I love the idea of a, you know, in-person, socially distanced walk. There's a mom in my ministry that we're now just connecting by phone once a week at a given time. And it's just like we all crave that connection, right? So that's really important. Thank you. Catherine, did you have something else? It was saying.
No.
Sorry.
Okay.
I
was speaking with, you know, high school kids are desperate to volunteer. They still need to show that they're serving the community. They still have to, you know, do these for college or confirmation class or whatever. So we actually set up a table in the parking lot of a Starbucks and assembled goodie bags for Halloween, and the kid, like high school kids did that. They're going to do the Christmas bags for us. We just stayed outside. It was a little chilly. It was a little windy. But keeping them engaged, and now providing an opportunity just for kids to be able to serve, because there's just nearly nothing. That's one of the things that we'll be doing at Christmas, is just having that little assembly line outside, socially distant, and then getting those packages out to kids, but by leaders. But yeah, that's
great.
Keeping our buddies going, because when we do open up, like we have to have buddies. You know, I'm a high school only ministry, so yeah.
That's a great way to involve them now, for sure. Bob, do you have your hand up?
Yes, I had a quick question for everyone. Is when I'm using the share screen during the Zoom presentations, you know, it allows for videos and PowerPoints and those sorts of things. Are there some programs that work better than others? Are there others that certain programs that seem to cause issues in the broadcasting on Zoom?
So do you mean like, does YouTube work well on Zoom? Is that kind of what you mean?
Well, yeah, that sort of thing. I can share the screen and then run a video or run a PowerPoint. Does anyone know of there are certain programs that work better than others when doing that?
Yeah, does anybody have any experience with that? Yes, Christy.
So most programs work really well. The problem is the audio with YouTube. That's an issue. But to start our class, sometimes I do the online coloring, and that works really well. You just share and then they ask to share. But I've never had any glitches except for the audio, especially on YouTube.
Okay.
PowerPoint, Google Slides, they're all the same. They work well.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Blair.
So we find that we don't work well when we do anything that's streaming, and we actually have to download all of our YouTube videos prior. And we use PowerPoint and share screen rather than trying to share from Google Slides.
Okay.
We just have too many problems and just completely unpredictable.
Okay, that's good to know for sure.
But I want to go back to letting people color. Can you just tell me that, please? What was that?
Christy, can you share about that?
You just go to online coloring, and do you want me to see if I can find it real quick and share?
Yeah, or put it in the you could put it in the chat and we can check it out too.
So then you just let people annotate?
It is a set picture. So say we were doing Daniel, we've been going through the book of Daniel. I had a lion one time. When we started doing some of the weird visions or whatever, I had a bird, you know, and they're preset simplistic pictures.
But how do they color is my question.
You share your screen, and then they just ask for the privilege to share the screen, and then they grab this little pencil, they go over to the ink pad off to the side, they touch on the ink, and then they might color everything blue, or maybe they color an ear green, you know, they just choose that. So sometimes they make mistakes, but that's okay. It's a nice introduction.
Great. Thank you.
So that's so Google that. So online drawing, is that right, Christy? Online drawing?
I just pulled up one right now, and it says online coloring, openchat.com, nothing special. And I just Google whatever I need.
Okay. Yes, Google is our friend. We learn a lot from the Google. All right, it is time. Oh yeah, Doc, go ahead.
Real quick, and Laura's on here too, she can jump in, but back to the question with Zoom and YouTube and audio and all that, you actually have to click a button on Zoom that enables audio on whatever program you are bringing in, and then it works perfectly. Laura, you could probably speak into that more since you use it every day.
Just when you go to hit screen share, and then you have like all your screens to choose from, in the bottom kind of left, there's a checkbox that says optimize for sound, I believe, or optimized for, I think it's sound, might be optimized for screen. And that optimized for audio, that may be it too. I'm doing off the top of my head, but that allows it to catch up a lot better. There's still some slight lags, but it's so minimal that it doesn't make a difference. The other thing I would say though is your internet connectivity does have to be good, because if your internet is struggling running your video plus another video, then that's where you may run into some issues.
Yeah, and boy, we've all experienced that, haven't we? All right, that was a really good tip. Thank you. Okay, well, I don't know about you guys, but I learned some new stuff today. So again, thank you all for being here. We are going to have our regular idea share on the first Monday in December. So I don't even know what day that is. It's probably like the 6th or 7th or something like that. Whatever the first Monday is, noon Eastern time. So if you're not getting our idea share emails, please go to keyministry.org/events and sign up for our idea shares. We're going to take December off, but I will probably offer a roundtable to talk about Night to Shine plans. So look for an email on that. I'll make sure to send it out to this group. Thank you all. If I don't see you, have a wonderful holiday, a wonderful Christmas, but hopefully we'll see you on something soon. So take care, and thanks again for being here.